Jai Shri Krishna. Today, I would like to speak of a very important event, an astrological event occurring on the 28th of April 2022. Saturn will be moving from its present sign, which is Capricorn, to its next sign, which is Aquarius. This event is super important for the world as it happens once in 2.5 years. Saturn moves from one sign to the other, but this time it's moving from Capricorn to Aquarius, and it's very important for the situation of the world in the future. I would like to assess the impacts of this important event on geopolitics, on the economy, and other areas of human life. Overall, as I've spoken about in my previous videos, we are still going through something called the Kala Sarpa Yoga, which is a combination in which all the planets get locked between the nodes of the moon. We've already seen that this has had an enormous impact on the world, and I've described it in detail last year before the yoga began. So we're seeing significant changes in terms of geopolitics. We have the Russian invasion of Ukraine and its economic fallouts across the globe. We are seeing a lot of things changing, and also we are seeing deglobalization accelerating rapidly. We're seeing a food crisis emerging in several countries. We're seeing an energy crisis that is reaching unprecedented levels. We're seeing so many events. We're seeing the markets dropping heavily, and the markets have also already dropped over 10% mostly, and since its all-time high, which was also predicted in the previous videos, even Bitcoin has fallen 40%. So we're seeing several things happening, of course, around 40%, but we're seeing several things happening around the world ever since the Kala Sarpa Yoga has begun. Not to forget, even natural disasters have escalated rapidly, with several important events like one of the most powerful explosions, the volcanic explosions in the 21st century happening in mid-January, and also some more important events lined up, like a very powerful earthquake in Japan that fortunately did not cause too much harm, that happened on the 16th of March, and a few more very powerful events across the globe. So this Kala Sarpa Yoga has had a lot of power, and it has also wielded its influence heavily around the world, and it has initiated several changes to the world. Change is not bad, but these changes are certainly negative for the world in the short term. And let me explain what would happen when Saturn transits into Aquarius on the 28th of April 2022. But don't worry, everything's not going to be bad. So just before we go into the topic of how Saturn would impact the world because of the transit after the 28th of April 2022, let's first look at the previous prediction regarding the economy, as that was a lot confusing, and I had also overlooked certain important aspects while dealing with the prediction in that video. While March 16 was a very pivotal day, this video that I'm talking about was published on the 24th of February 2022. Coincidentally, Russia also announced its invasion just a few hours later after that video was uploaded. And that day was a very significant day, no doubt, and the markets reacted heavily to that particular situation of Russia and Ukraine on that day. The video mentioned March 16, 2022 as a very significant and pivotal, a game-changing day which would cause a major impact for the global economy. And it also mentioned that after March 16, we would see the markets plummeting across the world. However, I'd overlooked certain important astrological indicators about the markets, especially the one that Mars had already transited into its most powerful place, that's Capricorn. So there was a temporary bull run instead of a bearish run in the markets. So we saw that the markets rallied, especially I feel one more important reason is that the Chinese government vowed support for the markets. Being the second largest economy in the world, a government vowing support for the markets immediately bolstered up most of the Chinese markets just a day after they crashed heavily. So one important thing to note is that overall, nothing is out of the woods yet, and the markets have plenty of scope to correct even more over the next 1.5 years. And I see enormous potential for that to happen as well. Since Rahu and Ketu have already shifted towards their newer positions, which are not exaltation positions, we should see that there is a 1.5-year cyclical shift that's occurring, which means that many things that were happening before 1.5 years are likely to be reversed after 1.5 years. I've not been very clear about this in my previous videos, but this time I would like to make this as a very important prediction that Rahu and Ketu, the nodes of the moon, are making a movement that happens every 1.5 years. So this time they're reversing whatever is going to happen over the whatever has happened already over the last 1.5 years, and they're going to reverse it to a new cycle, which means that all the different things that have happened, including the great bubbles that have been built over the last 1.5 years, are going to come down heavily over the next 1.5 years, starting March 16, 2022. And we're already seeing significant indications of this happening. We also saw that after the March 16, gradually the prices of oil again began to rise heavily from below $100 to nearly $120 a barrel, and that also exacerbated the global energy crisis. We also saw that the situation in Russia and Ukraine that many people thought would turn into a peace talks and the war would come to an end, etc., that didn't happen. Unfortunately, Russia, in fact, the situation between Russia and Ukraine increased heavily, and we saw that peace talks were completely sidelined. And even now, we're at a time frame when a new battle has begun, in fact, between the two countries. So in March and April, as predicted, the entire situation between Russia and Ukraine has only exacerbated, and the war has only increased rather than decreased. And I would also like to comment on this situation with regards to the 28th April 2022 prediction. So now moving forward towards the next important detail, Aquarius is an airy sign. It is a gaseous sign. There are a few more signs in this group: Gemini and Libra, that is Mithuna Rashi and Tula Rashi. Along with them, of course, is Kumbha Rashi. So we're talking about Kumbha or Aquarius now. Now, Saturn is moving from an earthy sign, which is Makara, to an airy sign, which is Kumbha. I request you all to watch this video in full detail from the beginning to the end so that you can understand the issue very well. So Saturn, being a very slow-moving planet, is moving from an earthy sign to an airy sign. And guess what? This means that the world is going to quickly transition, faster than what we expect, from energy resources below the earth to energy resources above the earth. And the 28th of April stands as a pivotal event to this major movement in the global energy situation. So, however, that does not mean that oil prices will cool down immediately, and this is certainly going to be an important day for the global energy crisis. So we have to look at exactly what could happen. I believe that the global energy crisis could exacerbate over the next 1.5 years, causing tremendous, tremendous problems in the global economy. However, this will be a positive time frame for renewable energy resources. So as I've already spoken about in my video last year, before the global energy crisis reached the present heights, wherein I had predicted that March and April would see tremendous problems for global energy security, I still stand by that view, and I see that the global energy crisis is going to further increase, or at least stay at the present level over the next 1.5 years. However, this serves as a unique and powerful opportunity to renewable energy. The overall renewable energy industry and the sector would grow heavily, and I'm happy that many people who have anticipated the global energy crisis exacerbating have actually made appropriate changes to their lifestyle in order to adapt to this new world that we are facing today by constantly embracing more natural and wonderful sources of energy, more renewable sources of energy like the sun god himself. So the solar energy has been an amazing technology that is going to further increase in its prominence and power over the next few years. This is a very important situation for the world, and we are at the transition period, a cusp of major transition for the world, and I feel that all forms of energy above the earth are going to become more prominent than the energy sources below the earth. The last time such an earthy to airy sign transition by Saturn happened was on June 1973. Of course, there were other situations as well, but June 1973 was an important day for this situation. So this is when the global energy crisis, the first oil shock, occurred. So oil shock happened in 1973, also known as the Great Oil Crisis of 1973. We are likely to experience something similar to this, however, a little bit lesser in intensity, as already we have seen a significant impact. So this transit has a lot to do about energy, as evident from this video. And the other portions that I would like to discuss today about the 28th of April is it is going to have a significant fallout on the geopolitical crisis as well. We're going to see a very important situation in that area of the world. We would also see problems towards the northeast of the world, the northeastern side, which is, of course, China and also the Chinese area. And we're also going to see some problems in that area. We've already seen that not only after March 16 there has been a major problem in terms of the economic indicators. We're also seeing that COVID-19 has exacerbated in the largest economy, that is China, and more than say COVID-19, which is not so important as much as the lockdowns that they have initiated and the harsh response to COVID-19 that China has initiated. It has actually devastated to a large extent the economy of some of the most important cities in China. For example, Shanghai, which is a financial center of China, has been locked down. And even this happened after the mid-March period. So we've seen a lot of global events during this time frame, and we're likely to see more. But what happens between March, April, and May? May is when actually the Kala Sarpa Yoga begins to break, with Mercury first coming out of the entire axis, and soon the rest of the planets will follow. But still, the Kala Sarpa Yoga remains active, and therefore we should see that May is going to be an important event. I would also like to revise my previous forecasts about the global economy and mention again, reinforcing some of them, stating that after March 16, 2022, we've entered into a 1.5 year, that is a 1.5 year cycle that is going to reverse the previous 1.5 year cycle. So the previous 1.5 years were all about bubbles increasing. The next 1.5 years will be all about bubbles slowly coming down or more drastically coming down. And this is what I see overall for the global situation. The 28th of April is going to have a significant impact on the different markets. It might also have problems for the cryptocurrency industry. And as we have already seen, several important facets of the crypto craze are actually coming down. Again, I would like to reinforce, as in my previous videos, that the cryptocurrency is not just a single-time fad, but it is a long-term evolution of humanity. At the same time, cryptocurrencies at the moment are a bubble, and therefore they are destined to burst. This is going to happen certainly over the next 1.5 years. We're already seeing many indicators coming down. Bitcoin is down almost 40% from its all-time high, which was also predicted previously, and the NFT craze is also coming down. Across the world, a lot of indicators that are flashing in front of us. So I would say that it's important for us. And of course, we're also seeing that gold is regaining its importance as an asset, as opposed to the previous year when gold did not perform that well because of Jupiter's position in a debilitation sign. Now that Jupiter has come out of the debilitation sign and is into Pisces, we should see an important transition towards more respect for gold and more adoption for gold across the world. With these comments, I would like to wrap up today's video, but of course, there's a lot more avenue to explore, and there are more avenues to explore. There's more research to be done, and I will be back with more videos in the near future. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra, Jai Shri Lakshmi Narasimha.